Yes, guys, welcome to Chasing Green Arrows. We are back with a midweek preview. We've not got another game week after this until April. Till April, the game week deadline. So make the most of this. We are on the 12th of March as we record this ahead of game week 29. It's me, joined by regular co-host on a Wednesday, Mr. Bigman Backer. Bigman, how are you, mate?
I'm good, Gianni. Thanks for having me. Hello and welcome to all the listeners and viewers, all the chasers out there. This seems like a very big week, and I think it's going to play a pivotal role in the remainder of the season because this week will go a long way in deciding our chip strategy. Our Salah, no Salah, Haaland, no Haaland, and with that, it'll bring a lot of variance. I feel so. It feels like a huge week.
Hello, I think I'm back. We're back. We're still live. Where's Bigman gone? I thought I was the one that left. What is going on? I thought I'm the one that left. But it looks like I've come back and no, I am the one that left. I saw myself across the screen. Anyway, hello to everyone. If you're watching catch up, this is going to be rubbish for you, isn't it? You're going to be like, what is this chaos? But if you're watching live, hopefully you've seen, you're with us. You're with us. And hello to all those watching on catch up. Look, Big Man's going to be back in a minute. Absolute chaos. Let's see how you viewed that, because I didn't view it. Bloody internet. 29 preview done. Not for me earlier. It's hacking. You both went. Okay, good. Yeah, great. Big Man's back as well. Big Man, apologies. I left you first and then you left me.
Yeah, it happens, and it seems like a chaotic week to begin with. So it's a very apt start, I would say.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you mentioned the big stories this week. Like we've put it on the thumbnail. Like the big decision for so many managers not on free hit is: does Mo Salah stay in your team, or is he your cash cow for Erling Haaland? We'll get to that. We're going to also talk about what else have we got on the agenda. We're going to talk about some Bournemouth players.
Chip strategy, I think, is pivotal.
Go on.
Chip strategy is pivotal.
Let's
best. Let's say the best free hit teams, etc. Who should free hit, wild card, and all that kind of stuff. So I think let's get straight into it right away.
I'm going to send our producer the Ben Krellin ticker because we can't do chip strategy chat without that. Let me send you his most up-to-date ticker. Coming on a WhatsApp message right now. We'll get that on screen in a minute, guys, so you can see it.
I would actually like to touch upon both of our teams as well, because our teams are actually vastly different. Your team is completely geared towards a different strategy. Mine is probably different as well. So I think we should touch upon that. And yeah, some big decisions to come. I'm super excited for this stream. If you can't see that,
yeah, already. I am. I'm really excited for this stream, for this game week. I love the fact that there's lots of managers and lots of content creators going in completely different directions. I think that's great for the game. Hopefully makes a good spectacle for those viewing. What I am seeing, though, Big Man, I'm seeing loads of people get to game week 29 and crap the bed, effectively. And they've gone, I'm only ever going to navigate this with free transfers. And now there's people that were never thinking of free hitting, and never thinking of wildcarding. And I'm like, guys, for me, the value in the free hit isn't what happens in 29. It's the stuff you've done in the last few weeks by buying Palace players and them doing well, or buying Newcastle or whatever. I don't think you should get to this week and then go, I'm going to free hit. Like, if that's you, consider just using free transfers or even taking hits. That you maximize the week by the weeks before and after it. Not because I don't think 29 is a great week to free hit. I'm free hitting. It's what I can do either side of it that's made it worth value to me. The wildcard, though, I don't mind. Like, I've looked at wildcard draft. I don't love it, but I understand why some are having to look there. I mean, what's your take on those two topics?
I think, it's easy to say that it's team dependent, but like generally, I think that the free hit could be best saved for later. Personally, that's my opinion. Looking at how most of the teams are, let's say if you have a few Liverpool players, I assume most teams have 2 or 3, maybe a sprinkling of Villa, Palace, Newcastle players. I would assume that Game Week 29 should be quite manageable. I actually like wildcarding a lot more than I like free hitting this week.
Wow.
And I say that for a lot of teams, including mine.
Mm.
Even though my team is actually sort of well set up to navigate 29, I do think there is an argument to be made for wildcarding it. Because in the previous years, in the previous seasons, what we used to see was that, if the team is in trouble and if you have a free, let's say 2 or 3 free transfers, you can easily navigate it. But now those free transfers can get carried over. So the value of wildcarding right now is to maximize not only 29 but also 30, make the most out of those 2 weeks while also having those free transfers in hand. And that is something which I find really, really appealing. And my team is actually currently a borderline case of whether or not I decide to wildcard. I think, Gianni, looking at your team, let's bring that up on screen after this. I genuinely think that you should be wildcarding and not free hitting.
Not a chance. I can't do it. I've already hit the button. I'm set on free hit, mate. I don't actually think the producers got my team because we didn't have it yesterday either. So we'll see if we can get that. It doesn't work for me because I'm so heavily invested in like Crystal Palace, Newcastle, right? They're about to double. I've got 5 players there. I've got 5 Palace and Newcastle players. Like I'm well set for 32.
The thing is, you could still have them on the wild card while having that free hit available for later, which will be more useful as opposed to the wild card, in my opinion.
But if I have them on wildcard, I've got a rubbish 29 team because I can't get 11 men out if I have those Crystal Palace and Newcastle players.
Well, you can have 4. You can have 4 of them.
No, because I also want Mo Salah.
See, that's where the issue lies. In my head, I've made peace with not having Salah at all.
That's the key.
For the next
wildcards
are
more of an option if you're okay dumping Salah.
Exactly, and I have come to peace with it. Even if Liverpool were to progress in the Champions League or if they're getting knocked out, I don't think that makes a huge difference to my planning because I'm just simply playing the fixtures and I'm just going heavy on the teams with doubles. So I think I'm sort of locked in to go without Salah at least till game week 33. I'll look at him later on in the season if need be, depending on how the fixtures fall, and depending on how things are. But 4 game weeks is a long time in FPL, and as you rightly pointed out, Gianni, game week 30 is actually still like 2 weeks away. So a lot can change till then. There will be plenty of cup fixtures as well.
3 weeks.
So anyway, look,
3 weeks yesterday.
Yeah. So looking at the ticker, I want to discuss the Salah versus no Salah debate with you because you're firmly in the keep Salah camp and I'm the opposite. So I would like you to actually present a case of keeping him first so that then I can sort of counter with my arguments later.
I don't need the ticker for that, mate. It's the game's best player. Nah, I'm kidding. Let's have a look. Let's have a look at the ticker because we do need to look at captaincy. And the reason why there's very good managers out there like Bigman okay about dumping Salah, it's not saying he ain't going to get any points. Bigman knows Salah's going to get points. It's saying I'm actually not going to be captaining him that much. And I think that's the key. I still think I will captain him loads. If we look at game week 30, fair play, I probably do go Haaland at Leicester, although Salah has Everton. 31, I don't know where we go with the armband, but 32, we're not captaining Salah because Isak doubles and Palace double. 33, we're going to have doubles that won't include Liverpool. 34, we're going to have a blank. So, yeah, fine. Could be Salah captain. But then we're also going to get a double again, probably in 36. So, again, maybe not Salah. And Liverpool will not double. We know Man City.
In 34,
sorry,
I would just like to mention 34 because it's a blank. Those of us who have the free hit left will be free hitting anyway. So we can have Salah on the free hit.
Yeah.
Right. So that's till game week 34. That's what from 29. That's 6 game weeks. 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34. That's 6 game weeks. So 6 game weeks. You want a guy for 14.5 million, and you're not going to captain him.
I'll captain him in.
And you're also going to
captain him in 31.
That's just 1 week, and even that's a week where Newcastle play Leicester. So captaining Isak is equally feasible.
Yeah, maybe in 30. I know Haaland plays Leicester.
But, I mean, yeah. Everton are a much better defense than Leicester, so it has to be Haaland in my opinion.
Yeah, that's fair. Like the damage, I don't see myself captaining Salah a huge amount either. I still don't mind. I'm not necessarily one for at that price you need to be able to captain him. I think there's enough good enablers in the game to actually afford both. I don't see it as a struggle to go without. I mean, it comes down to Salah versus Palmer, doesn't it? Like, have you got Palmer in your team with no Salah?
I do currently,
So that's what it comes
but
down to
that's
for Mini. She can't have both of them.
okay. So let's discuss Salah versus Palmer for the next 2 weeks, right? Because I mean, wild carding in 31 will be template. So let's discuss Salah versus Palmer for the next 2 weeks.
Mm.
Palmer has a couple of fixtures. Salah has one. I assume for a lot of teams, if you're selling Salah, you can get to Haaland for free. While with Palmer, you'd probably need an extra transfer because of the difference in the budget. So automatically, you're looking at two fixtures versus one, and then you're looking at a hit on top of that.
Yep.
And then you factor into consideration that you're not captaining Salah in 30. I think it's an easy choice.
And the fact that Palmer's playing Spurs, who are so leaky, and then Ipswich in 32.
I didn't want to
Palmer's
touch
been
on that
horrific.
because, I mean, exactly. I didn't want to touch on Palmer's form because he's been horrific, but I mean, he's going to get the minutes. The fixtures are still there. And if he scores that penalty last week, which was a very well taken penalty, it was just a very good save. I think it's a lot of more people will be more open to making that transfer. But this week, I heavily doubt and I highly doubt. I mean, I've already been sort of discussed this at length with some of my group chats, and a lot of people absolutely hate it for obvious reasons. That Salah's the GOAT and he's the top scoring player,
Me included, by the way.
etc., etc. But it's not as simple as that, in my opinion. I think you have to weigh up the pros and cons, and I think there's a legit method to the madness, which I would call it.
Do you know what? I've been saying I hate it for a long time, and I do, but I hate it for my team. It does for your team. I dislike it. Hate would be too strong. For me, I hate it because I'm free hitting in 29. So the whole extra fixture thing doesn't come into play, Palmer versus Salah. And yeah, it's my chip strategy. I might go without Salah, but from 34 onwards or whatever, I've still got a wild card up my sleeve. But I know for the next wave of fixtures for Everton, Fulham, West Ham, I still see Salah as a very good pick that I want in my team. And in 33, he's got Leicester as well. So sorry, the next 4 or 5 fixtures. But for your team, I completely understand what I would have explored it if I was you too. For me, it doesn't work because I'm on free hit. I think that Palmer argument. I also own Chelsea's number 10 that actually does pick up points. He costs 4.7 million. His name's Enzo Fernandez. So I don't need Cole Palmer.
Yeah, I think we should discuss our teams because it would be easier for people to sort of relate to where we're coming from.
Yeah.
If you can send your team, and in the meanwhile we can show mine on screen.
Yeah.
So that
Producer
we can
should be able to get my
it.
team because I'm in the Chasing Green Arrows league, so I'll let him grab away. But yeah, let's see yours. Here we go.
Okay, so this is me. I have 3 free transfers and I have 2.4 million in the bank. So from game week 23-24, whenever the fixture announcement and the schedule came out, I've been sort of gearing towards having a manageable team for game week 29 without having to use the free hit chip. And I believe I'm in a relatively good position when you compare my team to a lot of other engaged managers, I guess, because of the 3 free transfers that I have at my disposal.
Yeah.
So I'm actually torn between 2 options, right? And 2 strategies, I would say, actually. So the first strategy is, which appears to be a lot more easier to execute. It's sell Watkins, get Haaland, sell Salah, and get, let's say, Semenyo. And the third transfer, I can decide to save it and just play Dango, or alternatively, I can decide to sell Dango for Clivert, or I can bring in, let's say, Evan Nilsson for India, and I can bench Dango, depending on my assessment of Dango's minutes. We'll come to that later. But this is just a broad view of my strategy that I can conceivably roll 11 out. If I use 2 free transfers, if I can roll 3, then I can even bench Dango. That's fine.
Yeah.
I think this is the route which I think I'm slightly more likely to take.
This was the original plan as well, wasn't it? This was always the plan, this route.
It was always the plan, and I gave myself that luxury of that extra third free transfers in case something went wrong, and it inevitably did now that Dango's become a minute's risk, right?
Yeah.
I don't mind rolling Colwell out as much, because when you look at the clean sheet probabilities this week, the highest clean sheet probability is for Everton and Arsenal, which is 35%, which is very low. So clean sheets this week are going to be at a premium, and it's going to be very hard to guess and get it right. So even if I have to roll someone like a Colwell, it's not exactly a deal breaker.
Mm.
This way, I can then wildcard in game week 31, and in game week 31, I can, let's say, have 3 Newcastle, 3 Palace. I can have all the information at my disposal for the fixture scheduling, and then I can wildcard accordingly, setting myself up for the bench boost and for the triple captain and whatnot. Right. So this is plan A. Plan B is something which has become more of an option after Trent's injury, because if Trent is not available for the next 2 weeks, then he's a problem. And I can potentially wildcard this week, as sort of I mentioned and hinted earlier. The appeal of the idea of the wildcard comes from the fact that I can then roll my 3 free transfers next week, and while having a very good team for Game Week 29 and Game Week 30. Because then I can get rid of the likes of Trent, I can get rid of the likes of, the minutes risk in Dango, João Pedro. I won't have to play someone like a Colwell.
And die. Your goalkeepers, you can move Pickford
die
on, you've got
goalkeeper.
bad fixtures.
Exactly. So basically, I can have a much better team for 29 and 30, while still having those 3 or 4 free transfers available in 31 to react to any fixture changes that come out.
Mm.
That is plan B. And I am very torn. I mean, any injury in my team, and I think I would probably look towards wildcarding. And currently, I'm just sitting on the fence, and I don't exactly know which way to go.
They both involve no Salah, though. Because if you wildcard, you're not
100%.
Salah. Yeah.
100%. Yeah, I won't have Salah. I've made my peace with it.
Yeah, fair. I was really pro strategy 1 for you until the Trent injury. That does change things, because 1, he becomes a problem and an extra transfer, and you miss good fixtures like Everton at home and Fulham away, potential clean sheet fixtures. But 2, it's where you can use those funds. And I do think having Trent benched is like, that's, you straight away think that's 3 million. Like, I could use in my attack, and with wildcard, I can make that 3 million go somewhere really far. It's like the difference of, I don't know, well, you guys know, 3 million. So I think we need to know more from Slot, don't we? Slot will be asked about Trent, and Liverpool are a club where the local journos give you often some inside scoops. So we should get some more info on Trent, and that might be what forces your hand. I mean, that Everton fixture is 3 weeks away. But
that's what I was going to come to.
The knee injury didn't look, that sort of injury, for Slot to say post-match, he ain't going to play at the weekend, and to go off like that, and that sort of jarring in, I would be, if I was a betting man, I'd say he ain't playing against Everton. But that's purely just a punt. Like, who knows? I'm no expert, but I
assume.
Yeah, it doesn't look good.
I assume that, given the match state and given the significance of the moment and the significance of the match that Liverpool had, and if he had to go off, it must have been something serious. He's not going to go off if it's not something, he can't play through. So it appears to be something serious. I guess the saving grace is that the next match is, at least 2.5, 3 weeks away, so we can wait. But then again, I think on Friday, if Klopp does come out and say that Trent is out, Slot does come out and say that the Trent is out for a while, then I might look even more seriously into wildcarding, because then, it just increases the appeal, because I could roll a better team out for the next 2 weeks, have a plan in place for 31.
And you'd have 5 free transfers for 31. 4.
Yeah,
4.
5. 4.
Or 5 if ahead of Palace and Newcastle for the double. Like, that would be powerful. Who would be, if you wildcarded? And guys, do hit that subscribe button, but also hit the like button. I think we've got over 150 in the chat. We'd love you to give us the thumbs up. It massively helps the algorithm. And we're on a journey for 10,000 subscribers. So we'd love to get there by you becoming part of that journey. Who would be the 4 players you would bench who would all, no doubt, have no fixture in 29? Mine would be like 1 Isak, 1 Munoz, 1 Salah, and then a Henderson, for example. Like, have you thought about that?
I have thought about that. It would be four from Palace and Newcastle, undoubtedly,
Would it?
for the
Yeah.
reasons that you
No
mentioned.
Liverpool or
So
Villa on wild card.
absolutely, absolutely,
Yeah.
because I want to target the doublers in 32, right?
Yeah.
Isak would be there. I assume as a SAR, at least one of them,
Manoz.
if not both. If not both, Henderson would definitely be there. I think Henderson would be my keeper. I've looked at the rotations, and Ryan Henderson actually work really well because Arsenal have a good chunk of fixtures for the rest of the season, and he can cover for Henderson. Henderson can cover for Ryan 32, and then Arsenal have the double later as well. So that way I'm navigating not only the blank this week with a decent fixture at home to Chelsea, but then I'm also navigating 32 with the double and the double for Arsenal later. So Henderson and Raya would be there, undoubtedly. I would have Isak. I would probably. I don't think I'd have Munoz. I don't think I'd have Munoz because when I look at the Newcastle team and when I look at the Newcastle doublers, conceivably, I can't
Clean sheet.
trust Pope Dubravka. Exactly. I can't trust Pope Dubravka because of their rotation. I can only trust Isak. And currently,
Dan Burn,
it's
baby.
difficult. Exactly. That's what I was going to come to. Dan Burn is someone I'm actually looking at. Dan Burn or Livermore, one of those. And that's why I prefer actually having that flexibility because with Crystal Palace, you can have Eze, Sar, Henderson. You don't exactly need a defender as
All
such
good
anyway.
picks. Yeah.
Exactly, all good picks.
I
While
still
with
prefer
Newcastle,
Manoz as
I'm
my
actually
favourite pick, though. If I was to give
I
one Palace
agree.
player, it is Manoz.
I completely agree. I completely agree, and I really want Munoz as well. But because I want to maximize in the doublers, I'm happy to compromise a bit on, let's say, the quality. And I realized that the risk of wildcarding this week is that you end up picking the wrong doublers. For example, Gianni, next week or by game week 31, if I'm wildcarding in game week 31, Gordon might become an option. Mateta might be back, right? And that changes everything then. Then the whole
Mateta back
outlook
in
of the team is
training
different.
already. So again, Mateta, yeah.
Exactly.
Mate, this is why I don't need to
Exactly.
wildcard.
So
All these players you're mentioning, I've got Burn, Manoz, Sarr, Mateta. Free hit is perfect for me.
the thing why I prefer wildcarding over free hitting for you is that it gives you a good team not only this week, also next week, while saving the hit and saving the free hit. Because the thing which I feel can go wrong with your team is that without the free hit later, you might end up having to take hits because with the wildcard, you might not be as well set for navigating without the free hit. That's the problem or the issue that I see in my head. That's why I think that wildcarding right now, getting the points on offer and saving the free hit as well as saving the free transfer later will work better for your team.
In game week 34, if you had the option, forget what you've used previously, of a wild card or a free hit, what are you going for? I think the wild card in 34 is a much better chip than the free hit in 34. And that's what my plan is. I'll have a wild card in 34. Depends. We don't know how big and brutal that blank's going to look, which probably impacts that question. But
the thing is that while in isolation it might look better, there's also a chance that you might want a free hit in 33 instead.
Yeah.
Depending on how the fixture scheduling falls. There's no guarantee that you'd want to fixture to use the free hit in 34. Yeah. That is why I want to save it for later because there's a chance I might want to use it in 33. There's a chance I might want to use it in 34, depending on the FA Cup results. That's why it's really difficult to say that whether free hitting or wildcarding in that specific week is better. But this specific week, I'm fairly confident that wildcarding is better for a lot of teams because it works not just well for this week, for next week, it saves hits and then it saves free hit for later down the line and gives you the optionality of using it in the week you want.
Yeah, okay. Let's just go back to Ben Crennan's ticker real quick and then back to Bigman's team. This is what Bigman means by the 33 free hit. With my strategy, I can't wildcard in 33. If you wildcard in 33, you cannot have a good team for 33 and 34. The teams that double in 33, blank in 34. I have to wildcard in 34. And I'm fine with that. But as Bigman says, I'm less flexible because of it. I need to make sure I get some 33 doublers in my team, and I'm praying Crystal Palace double. Crystal Palace double, I'm good. Like, they're the best team doubling. I get them in 32. I've got the best triple up there. And then I'll make sure I buy another Bournemouth player, another Arsenal player, Man City, whatever, whoever I need to with a couple of frees. But if you've got the free hit for that window and you wildcard now, which is what Bigman's doing, you can then decide the free hit works best for my team in the big double or in the blank. and you can do either or 33 or 34. With wildcard, you can just do 34. With free hit, you can do 33 or 34. So I get it. I still massively think my strategy of free hit this week works. But yeah, it's. I'm glad we disagree. I think it's interesting we do, and everyone in the chat will be torn as well. So yeah, okay. If mate, go on, carry on.
Yeah, just a point. I mean, just sort of going away a bit away from this point. I want to mention something I forgot about the Salah and Haaland debate. I think both of us will be on Haaland captain this week. Am I right in saying that?
I think
because
so.
You're free hitting, right? So,
I think Bruno, Kluivert, Wood, all good options, but I'll be on Haaland.
Exactly. This is another point as to why I think that buying Haaland this week is very important, because a lot of other FPL managers who won't have Haaland will probably have a suboptimal captain. Now that could be Chris Wood, that could be. I think it could be Wood. A lot of people will go Wood or a Bournemouth attacker, but then again, it's difficult to exactly feel as confident about those as opposed to Haaland. Having said that, I mean, Chris Wood is just going to score another hat trick from 0.5 XGI, and it's probably going to make me look like an idiot as he has done all season. But yeah, we can only play the game which is in front of us.
Yeah. I like that. Let's go back to your team then. If Haaland does come in, let's just assume you're on 3 free transfers. You go Watkins to Haaland, and then you go Salah to who? You mentioned Semenyo. Can you afford Kluivert?
Yes, I can. Yes, I can. I can afford.
Why Semenyo over Kluivert?
I want to discuss this. Let's discuss this. Yes, this was supposed to be our next section of discussion. So let's touch on this.
Let me just tee it up then with a Bournemouth graphic that I've just sent our producer of just the XG plot against Spurs. Just 10 seconds on that, and then I'm going to show you the average position map. But just let me show you the XG plot against Spurs. It was another really impressive Bournemouth performance. So I just want to show that. And I just to show that they're going to score goals against everyone. Lots of shots. Unfortunate not to win. 2.5 XG away from home is good. But let me just show you the average position map now as well. Semenyo is very wide, as he always is. And when Semenyo shoots, they're low XG chances. Just check out where Kluivert is now. I mean, you know this from watching the games, big man. But Kluivert is very much a striker. He's a second striker. Him and Evan Nilsson are a front two. And there's a lot to like about Bournemouth, isn't there?
Absolutely. I mean, I've been sort of going about them for weeks. They're actually 4th for XG in the league this season. They seem like a fixture-proof team. So hypothetically, if I was to wildcard, or even free hit for that matter, I would definitely have 3 Bournemouth attack in my team. I would have Semenyo, I would have Kluivert, I would have Evan Nilsson for the minutes and for their potential as well. So that's going to be all 3. I think the debate should be had on their X minutes. Firstly, do you think that Dango's completely frozen out? There's no way that he gets brought back into the team?
Not in the 11. Not if everyone's fit. But I said this last Monday, didn't I? I was very big on the.
And you were right. You were right. You were absolutely right.
I just know how much he likes Tavernier. His start of the season showed us, like, from all those attackers, Marcus Tavernier was the nailed one. Like, Kluivert couldn't get in the team or was in and out. So with Tavernier being back fit, it's just such and obviously Evan Nilsson's been bought to start. So yeah, I can't see it.
I completely agree. I have no confidence in Dango making it to the team this week. It's really difficult. I'm actually more interested in his minutes for game week 30 though.
Yeah, okay.
In game week 30, if you look at Bournemouth's fixture schedule, in game week 30 on the weekend, right before game week 30 starts, on the weekend they're playing Man City in the FA Cup, which is one of their biggest fixtures of the season because they can have a deep run in the cup, I would imagine. And City are there for the taking. So I'm confident that Areola will play a full strength 11. Now the catch there is that Kirkes is suspended, so Dango could play left back potentially.
Yep. We have seen that. We have seen that.
Exactly. We have seen evidence of it, which is why I think that could be the case. I'm not sure on it, but there's a possibility that it can happen. Then in game week 30, Bournemouth have a relatively easy-ish fixture at home to Ipswich, and I feel that's a week where Areola will rotate because that's Areola historically has loved rotating, and I can't see the same 11 being played again 2 or 3 days after that fixture. So if Dango's, let's say, there's a chance that Dango comes back in the team for Ipswich, is what I'm trying to say, even though I'm not certain about it, because if he starts against City as well, then I won't be as certain. But it makes me think that minutes are going to be key. And that is why I think that Semenyo is probably the better choice than Clivert, because Clivert is more at risk of missing a game as opposed to Semenyo, who's consistently gotten 90 minutes this season.
The fixture congestion is real. Like, it's the Man City game, a few days later, Ipswich. And then a few days after that, the 2nd of April is Ipswich, game week 30. Game week 31 is 3 days later again, West Ham. So you're looking at 3 games in a week. Man City in the Cup, Ipswich and West Ham in the league. We have to remember, though, teams like Liverpool, teams like Arsenal, Man City, when they used to playing 3 times a week, and we see it a lot. We don't get to Mo Salah and go, oh, he's not going to start. Even against Southampton, when the league was wrapped up, he started. There are players and teams that often have to play every 3 days. Bournemouth are not one of those teams. And when we see teams like Bournemouth and Brighton and Fulham with midweek fixtures in the Premier League, we saw it in December. Fulham, Brighton, Bournemouth are 3 good examples where you see quite a lot of rotation. There's certain core players, the centre-backs, some of the leaders in the team, some of the fitness monsters that do play every minute. It's trying to predict which ones are the ones go, oh, Raul Jimenez, you're going to come out. Maniz is definitely going to get a start. Clivert, you're definitely going to come out. Dango's actually going to play second striker this game. And I think I'm with you there, big man. In one of those games, we will see that. But I do think it'll only be one of them. Because, yes, there is a bit of fixture congestion for Bournemouth. But up to that point, they've only had to play once a week. And they should still be in a decent condition. If clubs like Liverpool and City can go every 3 days, then for 1 or 2 weeks, Bournemouth should be able to do it, knowing the end of season is near. And actually, whilst the Cup is important with Man City, maybe the Premier League's the focus, because they might think about getting 5th. Bournemouth might look at the table and go, we can get Champions League football next year. That's the priority. So it's going to be really interesting. I'm not sure if Clivert does miss a Premier League game, for example, but...
Yeah, exactly. I'm not sure either, but there's the risk. And I do think that if both are playing, I agree with you that Clivert is the better pick. Let's say if I knew that both were going to play the same amount of minutes, I would pick Clivert. Hands down. I don't think I would debate.
And I'm with you. Semenyo will play every minute. I don't question it with Semenyo. I do question it with Clivert.
So see, this is now the fact that you've already mentioned that you're sort of at least second guessing with Clivert. Is moving Dango on for Clivert, in my case, in my team, a move that you want to make for free? I'm not sure. I mean,
it is for
Dango
me though still, because you're looking at one starting 4 for Dango, best case. You're looking at worst case for Clivert, 3 and 4.
I'm looking at the next 2 weeks only, because irrespective, I'm wildcarding in 31, right? So for me, it's 2 fixtures.
Okay, you're just looking at Brentford Ipswich. So yeah, okay.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So if Dango's starting 1, if Clivert is starting 1, is it worth a free transfer? Probably not. That's the risk that I am sort of trying to figure out in my head. If I knew that Clivert was starting both and Dango wasn't starting.
So we know Clivert gets the start versus Brentford, and we know Dango doesn't. So Clivert, just for Brentford, I think it's worth it. And then Ipswich, let's say you're 50-50 on which one starts. It's still worth it because you get the first game. And by the way, Brentford's a really good fixture because they concede big chances for fun.
I realize that, but there's also an alternative to this, which you will probably like. The alternative is that instead of selling Dango, I can just keep him on the bench. I can sell NDI for Evan Nilsson. That gives me triple bonus attack still. So would you rather have? See, this is the these are the pros and cons I'm trying to sort of weigh out. And then if I have Dango and Evan Nilsson, I can then, let's say, before game week 30, second guess or be in a position to guess which one is starting and which one is not, depending on the information available.
And the beauty with Evan Nilsson is he'll probably get hooked at 75, which isn't a bad thing because it means he can start both of them because he can probably start them all but just get 75 minutes. I don't think we'll necessarily see that with Clivert. He'll stay on at 90 and then, I don't know. Evan Nilsson's also cheaper.
So you think that Evan Nilsson's minutes are better than Clivert's? Long story short. I can't say that with any conviction.
No, I don't think that. I don't think that.
This is the issue.
I don't
because
think that.
he's just coming back from injury as well.
I think Evan Nilsson starts both those football matches, Brentford and Ipswich. Yes.
And you
I
think
don't know
Cliver
if
does
his
as well.
overall minutes are better than Clivert's. I think Clivert's got a much higher chance of getting 90 in the games he plays.
See, this is why it's really, really confusing.
I
It
would
is
sell
super
Dango
confusing
still
to see.
though, but I also like Evan Ilson. I just think Dango's you're going to
I
be with a
think
massive headache because the fear with Dango, which we've not discussed, is against Ipswich. You put him in your 11. He's taking up a valuable spot if he cameos for 10 minutes off the bench and gets 1
I
point.
agree.
That's the risk.
Absolutely agree. I absolutely agree with what you've said. Every word of it.
Yeah.
I think knowing the way you play, Gianni, you would probably do with these free transfers that I have. You would probably recommend Watkins to Haaland, uh, Salah to Clivert, and Dier to Evan Nilsson. You would
Yeah,
completely overlook
I'd go triple
Semenyo.
attack.
You would completely overlook Semenyo, right? That's what you would look at, I think.
Yeah, 100%. I've done a wildcard draft today, and Semenyo's not in it, and Cliver and Evan Nilsson both are. I've also done a free hit today, and the same two players are in it, and Semenyo's not. So the double up, I love average position. You've seen the map, guys. It's a front two. You get the two Bournemouth attackers, and I think they both probably do start Brentford and Ipswich. Semenyo is brilliant, but it's just so wide. Well, look, being wide is fine. It's just when he shoots, they're not big chances. When Clivert shoots or Evan Nilsson shoots, he's big chances are there for them. Evan Nilsson and Clivert, the link up between them versus Spurs, and then Clivert hitting the post. Thank goodness Clivert, that goal didn't go in. One, because he's like 30% owned. I think we've got a graphic. He's had a price rise already this week. But two, the world and their dog would be buying Clivert if that doesn't hit the post. And it fortunately hit the post, and it means he didn't haul. But I mean, he's already going up in value this week. This was a tweet from the official FPL just yesterday. Like, he's 32% owned now. Like, there's a proper bandwagon.
That's ridiculous. But I wouldn't expect his ownership to be as high, but rightly so. He's done really well, actually. Yeah, it's a tough one, man. And see, this is why wild card is an option for me, because minutes risk like João Pedro, Dango will be in my team every week, and I just don't like it. That's the thing.
And the headache.
This is generally not clickbait. Like, actually, I feel as if there is a scenario where we're sitting on this stream on Friday and I'm locked in on my wild card. I think that could happen.
Yeah,
I'm literally. I think
Slot's comments are going to be crucial.
Exactly.
When's the Slot press conference? Friday morning. It's usually early.
It is early. Even though it's a cup game, I would still expect it to be on Friday. Yeah, it has to be on Friday.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's going to be.
Mate, we would never accuse you of clickbait, other than saying you were 50% likely to captain Palmer last week.
I was actually very close to it. I was
Thank God you didn't. Thank goodness you didn't. I mean, Salah did Salah things.
It was just a very rough outcome generally, as I feel for anyone who went there.
Yeah, me too. And look, I actually think if you went there, like, you were brave. I don't think you were stupid. I think you were brave. Some have been called out, and I'm like, fair play for having a punt. Like, you've got to do that sometimes. So yeah, it was really unfortunate. Okay, so that's Clivert. Let's go back to your team then. I mean, I look forward to seeing for Friday's show. Put together your wildcard draft so then we can see it. If you do click the button, it will look something like your draft.
No, I will put one together irrespective, and I'm just waiting for injury news, etc., which is why I didn't share it today.
Yeah.
Just waiting for that, and then we can share it on the final stream on Friday. I think that would work better. But I mean, roughly, my idea would be having triple Bournemouth attack. I've already mentioned 4 from Newcastle and Palace combined. Henderson, Isak, Eze, Sar, maybe Burn, something like that. And then I would have triple Arsenal as well. I think triple Arsenal is actually very crucial to having that structure in place. Because Arsenal have a decent run of fixtures from now on in.
I'll keep loads of clean sheets
this week. Exactly. So I'll have double Arsenal defense.
Any
at
Forest?
Least. I was going to come to that. I'd have double Arsenal defense at least. I'd probably have an Arsenal mid as well, probably Trossard, because I just think it works really well in navigating the weeks going forward. Forest, I would have Neco Williams. I think I would have at least one defender. Because cheap. Forest, exactly, so cheap, good fixtures. And then in 34, they could also have a double, and they don't blank as well.
Yep.
So Neko Williams is someone I'm looking at. He started, I think, 10 of the previous all 10 games.
He's
So
more
that
advanced than
works well.
than Aina as well. I've been looking at the last three. I looked at the last 3 or 4 weeks of Forest heat maps, and he's considerably higher up than Aina in every single match. And his underlying attacking stats are therefore better too.
Exactly.
Yeah, and Moreno can't get in the team. So Moreno was brought in to be first choice, but Nico Williams has played his way in on that left-hand side. So Nico Williams, if you want a cheap route to Forest, he's in my wildcard draft too.
Yeah, Neko Williams is there. Evan Nilsson is also there. I mean, Elanga could be an option as well. I've looked at him briefly. Someone like him, because of the fixture this week, because of similar reasons we mentioned earlier. Forest, Arsenal, Palace, Newcastle. These are the teams which sort of form the core of my team. Man City as well, obviously. So Guardiola is another one which I forgot to mention. I'd have Guardiola as well because fixtures for City are decent as well from now on in. Haaland and Guardiola are actually the only two I can expect regular minutes from. I'm not willing to punt on anyone who doesn't have the minutes.
Yeah.
So I think there's a very strong case for Guardiola as well, ahead of the double for City as well. And Leicester
I've got
next
him on
week.
my free hit team. I'm unsure if I'm going to go Gvardiol or Gabriel on free hit. I could probably only have one of them. I'm definitely going 8 Nori. Don't know.
I think I would like him more on a wild card as opposed to the free hit because the fixture next week is
expect
actually
Brighton
much
to
better
score.
home to Leicester. I expect Brighton to score exactly. So you can
I'm going for a Man
potentially
United
go different.
defender for sure. So it'll be like
Yeah, I
Dallo,
would
8
do that.
Nori, and then one other.
Exactly. I did a free hit draft as well, and I actually had Dalo and Mazraoui / Mikalenko / Ait Nouri in my team. And I also had Gabriel and Pickford. So that's what I had in my free hit
I've gone
draft.
Pickford. I've got
Pickford is
Pickford
great,
and
yeah.
Mikalenko in my actual team, and I made my first free hit team. So like you, I've got and loads have still got that double Everton defense from their double not long ago, and I made my free hit team. And I didn't have Everton defense or Pickford, and I was like, I cannot do this knowing I have them both in my actual team. So I had Raya in goal or Sells, and I'm now going Pickford and just single Everton defense. So no Mikalenko, but Pickford for sure. I'm nailed on that now. I've made my bed with Pickford, and seeing West Ham on Monday night, even more reason to go Pickford.
Yeah, I think Pickford just makes a lot of sense. I forgot to mention I have Palmer as well in the wildcard draft
Yes,
that
I assume with
I
no
made.
Salah, all the Salah drafts will still have Cole Palmer, I think.
Yeah, I have Palmer and I have
And
Haaland
Isak?
as my premiums. Isak, of course, yeah,
Yeah.
because I don't want to use a transfer bringing him in later, and he has a great fixture next week. So I have
And you
Isak.
got money
I
tied
don't
up in
have.
him.
I don't
Again?
have any money tied up in him. I don't own
You're
him,
not?
right?
Were you that late to
I
it?
don't
Yeah.
own him. I don't own him.
Oh,
I
of course
sold
you
him
did.
for
Sorry.
Watkins
I don't know why.
a
I
few weeks
assume you've
ago.
got Isak. We're looking at your team right now. You've got Watkins in that spot. Yeah.
I've got Watkins. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, that's it really. I mean, I have the wildcard draft in front of me. The rough one, I can just read you through it. I have Raya, Gabriel, Guardiol, Williams, Byrne. The fifth defender is up for debate. I mean, it could be anyone. I didn't give it much thought. It could be a Palace one. It could be another Newcastle one. In midfield, I had Palmer, Trossard, Elanga, Kluivert, Semenyo up front, Evan Nilsson, Haaland, Isak. And the second goalkeeper is Henderson. That's the
Evan
draft
Nilsson,
that I
Haaland,
roughly
Isak is the most
got rid of.
nailed front three of any wild card. That was the easiest thing to do in a wild card was those front three, I think.
You could get Wood though. I think there's a good case of having Chris Wood on the free hit or on the wild card.
I know. I've got him on free hit, but on wild card, I just feel like Evan Nilsson's better for the price.
I think better for the price and better in the sense that I think Chris Wood at his effective ownership is well worth taking on with Evan Nilsson because I don't feel there's a huge difference between them. Evan Nilsson is actually cheaper as well, if I'm not mistaken.
A lot cheaper. He's
And
like 5.5
a lot
million.
cheaper. Exactly. And the fixtures are still there. So I think I would go Evan Nilsson as well.
Yeah.
My team value isn't great, so I can't really afford Chris Wood in this.
No. Okay, yeah, fine. I've got both in my free hit, obviously. That Evan Nilsson and Wood are both locks and free hit. Okay, dude, I've loved seeing your plans there. At the moment, as things stand,
I just want to raise a fine.
Do you think Bigman should wildcard or use 3 transfers? And I look forward to seeing the poll results.
Yeah, if you allow me, I just want to raise a final point before we proceed. I think we should take questions from our listeners after this. Why I really like the idea in the previous seasons I wouldn't have liked it, but this season I love the fact that I could just wildcard this week, have a strong team next 2 weeks, chill till game week 33, 34, have 4 or 5 free transfers in hand, and then I can free hit.
Yeah.
That's just a very powerful strategy. As I completely respect your opinion regarding the free hit, but potentially, while I agree that using the wildcard versus the free hit in any chip in any week it will be more powerful, like you mentioned in gaming 34. Would you rather have the free hit or the wildcard? Obviously, wildcarding in any week is more powerful, but when you combine the fact that you would have 4 or 5 free transfers to go along with the free hit as well at that point, I think that lessens the impact of the wild card. Because if you use the free hit this week, then you are using transfers hits in each of the next 2, 3, 4 weeks.
Yeah.
And then the impact of the wild card won't be as significant.
Yeah, it's fair enough. And it is. I took a hit last week, and I'll be taking a hit in 30. And I may even take another one in 31. Like, that's 12 points then for not wildcarding. But my team in 32 with no free hit, with no wildcard, is going to look very similar to your. If you wildcard, our teams would, when you wildcard, our team's going to look similar. And I'd have done it without a wildcard, but I'd be down minus 12. It's going to be, and your team will still be slightly better. But I think my team's going to look a lot like the wildcard teams because of my Palace and Newcastle. And a few free, and Haaland. I will have Salah in there though, but there'll be no Palmer. So it's going to be really. I can't wait.
Ultimately, that's going to be the big difference. Ultimately, that's going to be the big difference in our teams.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? Yeah, and Palmer could really damage. Like, we have to remember with Palmer, whilst the form's rubbish, the player's still there. He's still an absolute class act. He's still going to get goals and assists, and that form will change. Yeah. I'm not hard on the Palmer has to go. He is going for me, but he's not a consideration in my free hit either. Money's not an issue in my free hit. I'm still not picking Cole Palmer. So yeah, let's see. Guys, we would love you to support the channel and help us get to 10,000 subs. We know we can do it. We just need your support by sharing us with your friends, by helping the algorithm, by liking, and of course, if you're not already subs, by hitting that button for all those on catch up as well.
Please subscribe to the channel. That would be great. That would mean a lot to us. We're putting in a lot of hard work behind the scenes to bring this content to you. So please ensure that you show a bit of your support as well. That would be great. A question from Brian in the chat. He just said, you're forgetting injuries and bans, big man. And while I completely agree with the point that he's making, I think injuries and bans can happen in any week, irrespective of chip strategy. So should we really dwell too hard on that? I think these things come with every chip strategy. I don't think it's something which should put you off any chip strategy in particular.
I think injury and bans are overrated. I don't think we get as many as we speculate. Like, every international break, people go, roll your transfers, it's the international break. And so often we come out of an international break and there's not a single big headline injury. Yes, there has been some of late, but I think we worry too much. We have a super chat from Sigurd, but we also have a super chat from, I think, Bill, that asked one on Tuesday's show as we were saying goodbye. So, Bill, we definitely want to answer your questions. So, yeah, whatever the producer shows us, we will be answering, including your generous super chat there as well, Sigurd. Thank you. So, Bill, this is one for you, big man, because Dean and I answered in the chat. But what do you think of this?
Gakpo to Haaland, Isak to Evan Nilsson, Trent to Aguero for free, keeps Palmer and Salah, or get Haaland, Wood, Kluivert, Guardiola -4, no Palmer, thanks. I would love to answer the question, but for me, having to answer without looking at the team and the chips available, I think it's very difficult. I don't want to answer without having the full context or the information available. So it's very difficult for me to sort of answer this.
Yeah.
Sigurd is asking, no chips used, them in the beginning to get on top of them in league bit. So I will enjoy the rest of the season and compete in second chance. Sigurd, well, it's I guess you've used the chips, so there's not that much can be done now. But still, if you still sort of pick and choose your battles, pick the weeks to attack, pick the ones where you can still gain some points and still be in a position where you can hold on to that league. Thank you very much for the super chat. Eddie is asking, would you go -4, go Trent, Rogers, Cunha out to Guardiola, Langa, Wood, or Evan Nelson? I'm not a fan of hits. I'm sorry, I just don't like taking hits at all. And without having information on Trent's injury, I won't sell him for Guardiol. Well, if he's out, then I would probably look at making that transfer myself very soon. Gianni, I think you're muted. We can't hear you.
Oh yeah, I think Rodgers is a great FPL asset. I know he doesn't play this week, but I don't like the idea of selling Rodgers on a hit in general. And Sigurd, with your strategy of all your chips that have gone, I feel like we're often blinded by the fact that X team has a double. Just you've without chips, you've just got to focus your transfers now on a few teams that you know not only have a double, but just the really good doubles. I know it sounds obvious, but like Palace and Newcastle both have a double, but who has the bet? Like Newcastle, 2 home games in there, home to United, home to Palace. Like maybe you just commit to 1 or 2 teams that you're backing, something to play for, like a Newcastle with good home fixtures. And you just have to be really targeted rather than me and Bigman, who will probably be a bit more scattergun, going, we're going to jump on Brighton because they got an okay double, but it's a double, therefore we can still invest there because we got chips or whatever. But yeah, good question. One for you, Big Man, from Callum.
One free transfer, field 10 outfield players and roll on bringing a keeper for Ward with assistant manager funds like cells. Yeah, I mean that works, but I'm still sort of trying to figure out why the system manager is coming into play. Do you understand the question, Gianni?
Not sure. I don't know. I guess you've just had the assistant manager funds come back in, so you've used it the last 3 weeks, maybe.
Potentially, that's what I would guess as well. Uh, but yeah, if you have the free transfer available, then you can go for it. Having said that, if you have Allison, would you sell him this week? I wouldn't sell him for a hit personally because next week the fixture is good against Everton. So if you have Allison and let's say you don't have a free transfer left, I don't think I'd uh, use the hit. FL Chicken is asking, give me captain ranking. Beto and Pomo, Clive, Scartio, like Nori. I have no
We're
solid
certainly not
captain.
looking at Sales, Guardiola, and Lake Nori. We
Not
could
the,
rank.
not the defenders at all.
Yeah, I would say Cliver is my absolute standout from those 5. Like I like Bruno, Wood, Cliver if you're not going Haaland this week.
And I assume you have Bruno as well on the free hit, Johnny, right?
Yeah, I've got them all on the free hit. I'm going pretty safe on my free hit. Like I might punt like a Foden or a Garnacho, but I've got, I don't
would
have
guess-
players in my actual team, so I've got them in my free hit team, the template.
From the ones mentioned, I think Clivert and Wood are the ones that work best, I think.
Ricardo, do we prefer Zabani and Gibbs White or Huijsen and the Man City wingers? I mean, Savio should be nailed. He has been playing every minute, but I just don't bank. I wouldn't be surprised to see Savio dropped. Doku is far too risky for minutes. Unless you get a leak, I wouldn't go for a Man City mid. Even on free hit, I ain't picking Foden unless I hear a leak.
He was asking, hey guys, would you do Trent, Palmer, Isak to Williams, Elanga, and Holland for -4? I don't think I would sell Palmer to get Holland for a hit. I would rather sell Salah and get Holland for free. And I assume you own Salah because everyone else does.
Yeah, it's got to be Nori and Gvardiol, this 2 header. That's so clear. I mean, Semedo's actually matching Nori of late, but Gvardiol for City.
I agree. Guardiola and Nori as well. Shashant is asking, would you do Mbomo, Gakpo to Bruno, Haaland for free and keep both Palmer, Salah? It's an interesting question. I would keep Mbomo, actually. Why would you sell Mbomo ahead of fixture this week? I won't sell Mbomo. Yeah,
Could have
think I would
goals
sell
that
them.
game, Bournemouth-Brentford. It could be one of those sort of basketball matches. I do fancy Bournemouth to win, but I fancy both teams to score.
Nabadeep is asking, would you suggest going from Cunha, Watkins, Concert, and go to Wood, Evans, and Kirk Gibbs White from -8? I need at least -4 to play 11. I think Nabadeep, looking at the health of your team, you should look at wildcarding potentially for all the reasons I mentioned in the stream.
Yeah. Vincent, that's your full 11. What to do? Don't know. Maybe
It's difficult. It's difficult to answer without knowing the chip strategy. I think I would probably sell Salah and Cunha to Haaland and Clivert. Probably that's what I would do. I think. Yeah,
I don't
that's
know
what
how
I
you
would
do
do.
that, mate. I don't know how you can do that. I literally, if you're going to send me your team, give me 5 minutes and I might get back to you. Give me a minute, I could probably do it, but I certainly can't do it live with you like watching me. Like, no. Wood or Gibbs White? Wood all day long, guys. That's all we've got time for. We're at the hour. Guys, we're going to be back on Friday.
Thanks for joining in. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. We are
Yeah, exactly that. I think Big Man slightly froze, but we will be back on Friday with me, Big Man, and Dean. We'll be reacting to all the press conference
Friday.
news. We'll be talking about our decisions as well. Big Man will be looking at free wild card versus non-wild card, and he'll probably not be at 50-50 by Friday. With a wild card, it's so hard to make that late call, but we'll see his wild card draft on Friday, so stay tuned for that. I guess it's likely to be around the 2-3 p.m. mark. But hit the notification bell and you'll know when we are live. Guys, we will see you in the next. Bye-bye.